Welcome back, lords and ladies, to Pillars of Eternity,
Just say
as
the
we
word.
set off in the continued quest for adventure. Okay, I'm on right outside in the real world.
Just say the word.
Last thing the deer would need is another foreign colony.
Right, let's get here. See if they have the stuff we need. Talk to him.
Hello.
Or her, technically. What was it that we needed? It was a kind of flower, wasn't it? They're not going to sell it here, are they? Dagnabbit, it's going to be in the capital. I can't be bothered to go all the way to the capital.
Just say the word.
I must say, I'm impressed.
Can we upgrade anything? No, we need more of that St. Grace's bell, which is annoying to get hold of. Slaying. Yeah, it's all this St. Barris's bell kind of thing. We can only really get that in the capital.
Just
Right.
say the word.
So, let's get there. Actually, we haven't been to the training ground yet. See what it does. Oh, it's just there. It doesn't actually do anything. Okay. That's a shame. I thought it was actually going to be something we could interact with. Right. He's got that. I need to improve its quality, really. It's fine, I want exceptional, but again, we need St. Grace's horn, which we still can't get hold of easily. Yep. Where are we going? We need to go to Stormwall's Gorge. Right, pool is constructed complete. Yep. So we're going to purchase Artificer's Hall, Botanical Garden. Let's get a Botanical Garden. And that's all that's left is this. And then we're completely done with everything in the fortress. We went down there. You can't go there because it's flooded, I believe. But we shall have a look. Yep. Okay, so it's flooded. Up this way we go.
Just say the word.
So what outstanding missions do we have? The White March. Hallowing of the Deerwood. His better half. Can't do the siege. Find a druid. Find the Elder Archives. The Long Hunt. Find the Ardra area in the woods. Master Blow, doing that. Trial of Endurance. Scattered Faith. Elm Saw.
Leave it to me.
Let's get
Not
going.
a problem.
Deerford Wood Village. So Deerford Village. Find Deerford Village. Find someone who knows in the town who knows about the ruins. Wrong thing. It was this. So this is the continuation of that quest. Through Death's Gates. The Acolyte Division, Sobi and me. Mysterious ruins somewhere outside of Deerford. The Laden Kia sent operators to find the site, for the purpose is unknown to me. Right, Temple of Barath. Wumfum's Arms and Armory. Hydrant's Apothecary. Turgur's Curie. Durgan's Inn. Grieving Mother. Let's go to the Temple of Barath. How long do we got to stand here for? Until we find her, so keep your eyes peeled. Meredith. Who's this Meredith? An elf idles by the road, watching the village across the river. He nods at you as you approach, and the coward. He nods at you as you approach, and the cowled figures stand near him, full silent. Greetings, friend. The slow smile forms on his eyes. I've heard of you. Word has it you've been busy in Defiance Bay. He draws close. I'm busy too, and eager to finish my business and get back to the city. Sounds like we're both too busy to be standing around chatting, then. He laughs, right to the point. Just the kind of person I need to find her. Who? Haven't you heard? There's a murderer on the loose, said to have gone mad with grief and strangled a dozen healthy children when her own was hollow-born. He nods at the figures with him. We've come all the way from Defiance Bay to bring her to justice. She's here, you inquire. He nods across the river. She's hiding out in the village. We'll go in after her ourselves, but the problem is she knows our faces. There's no telling what she'll do if she saw us coming, and we like to avoid any further unnecessary bloodshed. He leans closer. Her name's Nafir. She's an all-on. We want to get her out of town so we can deal with her clearly. She knows we're looking for her, but if someone were to convince her that it's safe to leave, I could draw her out. She won't know you. It will be simple, replies Meredith. I have a few questions. What did Nefir do exactly? She was responsible for the murder of all those babies in Defiance Bay. Remember? Terrible thing, but we'll make her pay, all right?
Hail and well met.
Well, any luck with Nefir? Remember who I'm looking for? An all-in woman named Nefir. Don't know exactly where in the village she is, but there aren't many all-lands around here. Mighty suspicious. I mean, if she does do it, if she does do it, I will. The cat and mouse find Nefir. Med told me that he's looking for Nefir, a murderer from a Defiance Bay who's killed dozens of children. It wouldn't be murderess if it's a woman. I think if you're a murderer if you're a bloke and a murderess. Is it? I can't remember. I thought there's a different term if it was a woman killing people. She's an all-on woman. If we find her, he wants us to convince her that it's safe to leave Deerford. Barath spell. Oh, finally. Oh, we need 2, don't we? Yeah, of course.
Just say the word.
Is there anything behind the church? No. Okay, so you need to go inside it. Rightio, that was a bit worrying. Big screen. The Church of Barath.
Yeah.
Stealing Selby. Harbinger Bordrig. Is it Bordrig? Bod. Flames dance amidst scattered offerings, keys, coins, and tiny skulls of birds and mice are mired in the molted and hardened wax. Okay.
Just say the word.
So what's this? Braff, by the looks of it.
Out with you! I already told you what.
The old man.
Sorry. I thought you were one of those ruffians.
The old man turns as he enters. His face is covered in bruises and his lower lip is swollen. He stops and peers at you after he tells you to leave, squinting through a black eye. Oh, sorry for one of those ruffians. Looks like someone's beaten us here.
How may I help you?
What happened to you?
I never saw their faces. Strange hooded men asking about those ruins. Cleoban Relag. Most of the brigands who come through here asking about the ruins are looking for a few ancient trinkets. But these people knew the name, and they were in a hurry. They wanted to know where Cleoban Relag was. I tried to keep it from them, but I couldn't hold out forever.
He limps away from the window.
I don't know what they were up to.
He limps.
It can't be good.
He limps away from a window, shaking his head. Olaf looks at you, frowning. That does sound like the Leyden key, doesn't it? The old priest nods politely. Is there something else I can help you with? Tell me about Deerford. Folks here tend to keep themselves, as they do in most towns this deep in the Deerwood. They're suspicious of travellers, but with all the brigands and refugees moving through the area, who can blame them? There's the Temple of Barath. What can you tell me about Barath? Barath is the most universal of all gods. It oversees portals and circles of all kinds, even life and death itself. Under Barath, an ending is merely a passage to another beginning. Barath has many representatives across time and across cultures. Around the Deerwood, you commonly see it depicted as the Pallid Knight or the Usser. The Glan Faffins, however, know it as Bawin, Aken, and Akir Bawin. I've never heard of Bawin and Aken. It means life in death and death in life, respectively. You see them as two skeletal figures, one male and one female. Explorers have found them carved opposite one another in doorways, but I know of no particular legends that speak of them. Who is the Usser? The Kith have written stories, songs, and poems about the Usser for centuries. Sometimes his flock, sometimes he flocks, sometimes dwarfs, sometimes merely a walking skeleton. He never speaks, but he guides the way to death and the next life. He always creates circumstances for the wayward to stumble into their own graves. Oh, he's folk. Sorry, not flock. What I was doing is sometimes he's folk. Tell me about the Pallid Knight. She is one of the youngest manifestations of Barath, but a familiar one nonetheless. Stories describe her as a gaunt knight in black armour with black eyes, black hair, and pale milk skin. She demands an impossible toll from travellers who have tarried too long on her lord's road. Thank you for the information. Of course, Barath was once more widely worshipped in this area, but he is a silent god. He smiles sadly. These days, people find themselves in need of clearer answers. Can you tell me where to find these ruins?
The Glanfathen tribe that guards the ruins will kill anyone who trespasses there. And they'll retaliate against us, too, if history is any indication. We've had too many fortune seekers stir up trouble of late. If I'm to tell you, I'll need to know your reason for wanting to go.
He throws some stares at you with one-eyed scowl. So this is where I say, go into the ruins and I'll kill you. And that's when you say, here Ravas, I'm a watcher, and you're not matched for all of us, and we've got a good reason for this. And then I give up trying to argue with you and leave you to dig your own trespasser's grave. I'm only being half metaphorical. We sometimes make Deerwoodians dig your own grave before we kill you. When kids hear about it, it's a fabulous deterrent. A dangerous plot is unfolding there. I've got to stop it.
If that's the case, then we may already have trouble headed our way. I'll have to take you at your word. You'll find Cleoban Relag here. Whatever trouble you find there, please end it quietly and try to stay out of the ruins.
Farewell. I am being honest. Talked a bit more. No one trusts me with anything more than lighting candles.
Just say the word.
Right. Well, we just kill nobody gets in our way. Hey, we're trying to save the world. Doesn't mean we have to be nice about it. I want to see if I can find any more of those flowers that I can use to improve stuff. That's a
Just say the
river
word.
reed. It's another soul reading. Man, no. I mean, they're interesting
say the
enough, but they don't tell us much else. And if we're being
Just say the word.
honest, they basically take away from, like, if you're playing single player, yeah, that's fine. I don't have trouble with them. They're nice, they're fun, they're enjoyable. They add flavour, they add fluff to the game. But the problem is when we're doing a let's play and it takes you like a couple of minutes to read through them and there's like loads of them. I'd rather just play the game. Let's get across the bridge. House Horrid Guard. A word traveller, acquire a moment.
Hail and well met.
The guard gives you a praising eye. You've recently come to Deerford, I take it. I don't suppose you saw a young elf noblewoman on the road. I'm stuck in this wretched place with the rest of my unit until I find her. Haven't seen anyone like that. Same as everyone else in this blazing village size. Perhaps you could speak to Lord Harold at the inn anyway. He'll be grateful for assistance, and it could be the locals open up to you about his daughter's disappearance more than they have to us. Blood Legacy. Okay. What's this? Deerford Mill. Villagers.
See now what the flame has shown us?
Yeah, nothing particularly impressive. Hidden cast, what did we get? A grappling hook and some drugs. Piglet. You gotta love the pigs. Very intelligent pigs, massively intelligent. I mean, they're supposed to be one of the most intelligent animals. I mean, they're smart. They're supposed to be as smart as 4 5-year-olds. I mean, you definitely don't want to like eat them. I mean, sorry, not eat them. I mean, you definitely don't want to go into a pig pen if you're bleeding, because they're also omnivores, so they will try and eat you as well.
Just say the word.
Grieving mother. The woman looks briefly through you as if she doesn't know you're there. Okay, why is she grieving? This middle-aged peasant woman is dressed in brown leather cloth draped down to her knees. Her hands are working in separate stringy, colourless vegetables into a pile before her, stripping the heads off the long fibrous stems with a paring knife. She discards the stem one by one, placing the heads of the vegetables into a small cauldron-like basket in front of her. She doesn't greet you as you approach. You're not sure if she even knows you're there. I was hoping I could ask you some questions. You inquire. The woman doesn't respond. She keeps stripping the heads from the vegetables with steady rhythm. She may be deaf. There's no indication she heard you. Study the woman. At first glance, she seems nothing more than a middle-aged woman, unremarkable, maybe less stern than most, who seem more focused on weaving in her lap than her surroundings. Yet you suddenly notice that she's not stripping the vegetables before her any longer. She's weaving, and the vegetable pots are now missing. She still pays you no mind. Her brown locks torn and snagged from the lack of washing. Like many of the townsfolk you've seen, there's a strange blur to her. Even the motions of her hands seem to play with the threads that lack colour. It's a shape that lacks interest. It may be that she is half-minded or half-deaf, but something feels wrong as you watch her knitting takes on an odd cadency, and you have a terrible suspicion that something lurks beneath what your eyes are showing you. Focus on the woman. Her brown hair is long, almost length, hands. As you follow the stems of her locks down, her hair becomes long and black, splitting off into threads of black and silver wrapping around her hands. She is forming a show cradle with the threads, braiding a net into the front of you, each finger long and sharp like a series of knitted needles, almost hypnotic. The silver and black strands of her hair weave together, with silver predominantly as a highlight, the black shadowing it. And suddenly you are calm. You are on a plateau, almost at the height of a tower. Several stories high, the plateau is like a terrible lie. It's like a table lying beneath a clear sky. Beneath the plateau, surrounded in all directions, a forest hazy with mist, though whatever it is actual mist or distance or recollection. Resting in the curve of a natural art above you is a great copper bell, half again the size of a man, hanging at attention as if looking down on you, and the event unfolding before you. The plateau is soaked in the sun, the rock beneath you is rough and warm, the skies from a cradle around you, you feel different, not disembodied, but you feel your body. Your physical contours have changed along with the surroundings. And you hear a soft series of chimes, like wind chimes. At the sound, the scene gains colour and texture, as if the sound is beckoning you gently forth, filling your sense and thoughts like mist rolling softly in a sealed chamber. And focus on the chimes. The chimes coax you deeper into the memory, and you're certain it is a memory, a warm one. You're on a stone at the plateau, your knees are on the warm texture of the ground, silver white, simmering like adra. The plateau is formed of it, glittering in the sun. You feel the heat on your skin, the wrists, your hands. Your hands are in motion, weaving, not thread but gathering, tending, moving along the first movements of Barath's wheel. Your hands are wet. Your hands are upon the flesh of a newborn child, and you can feel the crowning of a tiny head turning in your grip, its head slick, wet from the womb. Your hands are weaving, inhabiting, have done this many times in the practice and confidence. You can feel the distant pains in your own head as the head emerges, the stream of fluid from the woman helping the newborn slide forth. In case she's giving birth, focus on the child, move with the hands. As your hands move, you hear the sounds of chimes clear, cutting through the haze of the memory. You cannot see where they are coming from, but they are close, and they are meant as a comfort. Of that you are certain. Right, so we give birth to the child. No, an umbilical cord from the legs and the thick one before you. Small child. Child cries out. It's full of life. The soul is blurred at the edges as if you are viewing a soul from within a soul. There it is, alive. The woman before you is weeping, and her first cry, her hands reach out to it. You surrender the child to her, something you have done many times before, and as your hands move, the chimes echo the movement, and you realise the chimes are hanging from cords on your wrists, and where once they echo in your memory, they are now echoing in the child's mind as well. The chimes were intended to welcome the child, to be the first gentle greeting into the world, a soothing sound guided by the tender motions of your wrist. You are helping her weave its thoughts, its perceptions, its experience. The woman laughs with a ragged joy, laughing from a parched throat. Her emotions seem soothed, but the physical demands of labour have left her exhausted. But the child is here, the child is safe. All atop this plateau is peaceful, calm, distant, flattering out of memories persist. Slowly pull back, retreat from the memory. With effort, the scene bleeds of colour, and your mind becomes your own again. There is no anchor, yet the sound of chimes remain. They exist in the memory. They sound there as well, and they hang from the woven brands on the wrist of the woman before you. Even as your head is spinning from the touch of her soul, the sound of chimes on her wrists are sharp and clear, as if coaxing you back into the real world. The woman still sits before you, but is nothing like what you first saw. She is wearing black, shredded garments that drape over her form like streamers. Her hair is a streak of black and run through as silver. Her age is almost impossible to tell. She simply feels old, like a crumbling watchtower. As she lifts her head to face you, you see that her hair is draped across the front of her face like a veil. When you first saw her was a mental glimmer of some sort, unconscious, unrealizing that you see it now, not the world sees, and you are perhaps the first to see her true self. Still, you don't sense a threat. You don't sense a threat in the realization. If anything, you feel a sense of relief from the figure. You can hear her thoughts, and she is glad to be last be seen. Who are you?
I am seen, but the eyes of others do not remember. You were the first to see me as I am, the call stripped aside.
There is light touch of her mind, a caress, and her left hand mirrors the motion of the touch, reaching up to the air between you. You hear the chime of her own wrist sound softly. A hand moves as if pantomiming, resting on your cheek at a distance. She speaks softly and slowly.
Your memories. The cadence of wheels on a caravan track. Fever. questions by running water. Violence in a night's campfire. Arrows in the dark. And fleeing. Falling rock and cracking stone. And a storm. The storm.
Her hand freezes in the air.
The storm that brushed you. Did its screaming wake you from your mind's cradle? Your memory of it is painful. Its cry is difficult to ignore. It's like a child. Many children crying out.
We encountered the Bearwick. It was unpleasant. We were attacked in the woods as we were on our way to Caelid Vale. Be cautious of what you read in my mind without my leave. What happened between us on the plateau? Let's go with this one. Hand withdraws slyly. Her chimes sound softly once again. Woman stands uncertainly as she has been sitting for some time and is too weak to bear her own weight. You notice her cheekbones are tight, her face gaunt. While she stands this weak, she seems determined to stand before you.
You are able to see me.
It is almost a question. You suddenly realize she does not seem to know what you saw when you looked at her. The image of the plateau, yet the image was so clear, so sharp. You're surprised she doesn't feel you there.
To see me is a rare gift. A watcher's gift.
I've never been able to do that with a living person except you. How was I able to enter your dream? You said you could hear a storm in my thoughts. What do you know of the soul storms?
So many questions, thoughts, whirling like storm winds. That storm still roars through you, deep beneath your thoughts, yet muted and secret, like an underground river. We cannot tell if it is carving new channels, or eroding what keeps your true strength buried. The fact that you could hear it at all, survive it, is something few have ever done. Your power will grow stronger with each soul you touch, as it allowed you to reach out to mine.
There is silence, and although it seems to be the last, at least for but a heartbeat, in your thoughts it stretches on between the two of you like a pull between your minds. You blink, take a breath, and you realize he wants to ask you a question, yet can't form the words. As if assembling them is painful or simply not enough pieces. Assemble the thought, do you wish to travel with me? You feel a wave of fear gusted with the strength of relief, for oddly her expression does not change. Then fear dissipates and you feel the strength and certainty as if the plateau from her memory lies beneath you and the calming sky looks down on you. Right, who do we need to put aside? Probably we need to find. We'll put her aside. Bring her in. She's a cipher. That's her focus. Okay, I've never used a cipher in battle before. How did they work? So their dex build. Assassin, perhaps. Abilities. Fighting spirits. Soul whip. Focus blow minimum. Causes the cipher's weapons to generate a field of parasitic energy that lashes out at the target, increasing damage inflicted and generates focus for the cipher. Okay. Mind wave. So it's about all her stuff uses focus, I take it. Draining whip, greater focus. Okay. What level is she? She's level 10. Oh, she's level 12. Okay, what's her weapon training at? Bloody slaughter. Okay. What's she armed with? Fine dagger. Give her that. Looks like I have no use for it. And do you have any other named weapons that she can have? Rapier one-handed. She's got a crossbow. We have a named crossbow if she wants it. Yeah, give it a crossbow. Oh, she's got no armor at all, besides fine padded armor. Okay. I mean, I don't have much. Got exceptional padded armor. Probably exceptional scale. It means that's going to be well, recovery speed would be lower. But I mean, we don't have anything that's particularly out of this world. She has that. Do we have something? We had an item that was cipher only, don't we? Only by rangers. Against spells. I swear we had an item that could only be used by ciphers. I bought it and it annoyed me because no one could use it. There we go. She has that. Don't we have something we can give her? We got that. Give her more deflection. And the other thing is might, but isn't really useful to her. We got that. Actually, damage for 12 seconds every 2 rests. Unarmed damage isn't particularly useful. Grants knockdown. So these are knockdown things. Minus 2 accuracy, immune to being blinded, plus damage to flanking attack. To flanked targets. Well, that's not too bad, I suppose. Wish we could change the colour. Apparently not. Right. She needs a belt. So let's give her... Her actually goes down. I don't like when actually goes down. We'll give her a basic belt. We don't have any rings or anything. But we're way over schedule. We're way over schedule, so we have to leave it here, folks. Okay, if you've liked, please press the like button. If you wish to subscribe, please press the subscription button. You can leave a comment in the comment section and I'll get back in contact with you. Goodbye.